Let's take a drive.
Are you ready?
We got bikes, Dougie. Feeling calm, Alice?
Not even a little. Are you?
I'm totally calm.
That's because you're mentally unstable.
Thank you.
Danny, move!
Are you ready?
We're in contact, major contact.
Get out of there.
Squad,
You gonna keep coming to me until you kill us all? Is that the game today? Well, that's a weird game, but okay, I'll play.
whole squad.
Rhyme with them killers, it's time to see who be realer. I know they can beat the clip on them, make sure these people feel it. I'm shooting like Rip.
Hello there, how are you? Welcome to What the Flip. Christy Lemire and Alonso and Matt Atchity. And that was a clip from Mile 22. It is the end of summer, and so you now get movies like Mile 22, which Matt will describe to you.
Yeah, so Mile 22, Mark Wahlberg, Ronda Rousey are part of a team of special operatives that work for the government until they stop working for the government because we need plausible deniability. And they have to deliver a package played by the raid's Iko Uwais. He comes in off the street, says he's got some actionable intelligence and they need to get him to a plane. This is wheels within wheels within wheels, and there's a lot of mystery, and it is ultimately kind of a Wahlberg action movie. And
but the least of them all.
Yeah,
you know?
And also the most in terms of what all is going on.
No kidding. But like, I mean, as whatever qualms I have with various aspects of their movies, they're pretty solid entertainments. I mean, I liked Lone Survivor maybe for all the wrong reasons, because I think my political read on it was maybe not what the movie wanted my political read on it to be. You know, in Patriots Day, if you can ignore the idea that like Mark Wahlberg single-handedly fixed the the Boston Marathon bombing and Deepwater Horizon, these were at least sort of coherent, competent action films that were interesting to watch, and they were, they had a certain momentum to them. This is dull and erratic, and Mark Wahlberg plays this sort of savant, socially awkward but brilliant guy who won't shut up. Yeah. And it's like the two best things this movie has to offer is Mark Wahlberg not talking and Iko Uwais kicking ass, and there's not enough of either of those things.
Yeah, I mean, coherent is exactly the right word, because you have no idea what's going on. This movie is so overly edited. It's all shaky cam, and it's edited. There's like within an inch of its life, like they will cut for no reason all the time. Yeah. But then there's also this like back and forth flashback structure where actually it's like a flash forward, because we're in the midst of the op. And then you have Mark Wahlberg in this very dark hotel room, like explaining how the op went wrong. And they dip in and out of that structure really erratically, like no rhyme or reason to it. I don't know that it builds any kind of tension like it's supposedly meant to.
Well, and it's like they're trying to give you narration, right? Like I see that they're doing that to try. I think that he's trying to give. I think it's narration that they're trying to let him do without being too obvious about it, and it still doesn't really help you understand what's going on, except that there's something that happens to me relatively early on that it's like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. Like,
yeah,
right.
What is surprising in the movie isn't interesting. But the rest of it just isn't surprising. And then, but yeah, you're right. The editing is a big problem.
It's
because
stressful.
Like, it's the worst.
In the wrong ways.
Because Iko Uwais, if you've seen the Raid movies, like he is capable of a lot of things, and he is so chopped up in the editing room that you don't. It's like why contemporary musicals so often drive me nuts, because I want to see a dancer dance. I want to see a complete range of motion in one shot. And if you cut from here to here to here to here, anybody could be doing that. Like you could edit any actor, like John Malkovich could be doing the Iko Uwais action sequences the way those are edited together, because you don't get to see him do a full range of motion.
Right, and then you see a movie like Atomic Blonde, for example, which is directed by a stuntman and choreographer who appreciates the dance of it, as you would say.
The uninterrupted takes.
Right, I want to see the fight. I don't want to feel like I'm in the fight. If I want to feel like I'm in a fight, I'll go get in a fight, which is why I don't do that.
Right, but that here to here to here to here approach, they use in just random dialogue. They use in two people talking to each other and in the big action scenes. There's one big fight, one big action scene that takes place in it's like a hospital, kinda. Anyway, he's chained to a hospital bed, and what he does with that is kind of creative, and that there are glimmers of things that you know are probably cool within that fight sequence that, again, it's so nutty that it's hard to ever get a hold on.
Let us see it.
Yeah, so that's part of the problem. Yeah, any movie with John Malkovich, in theory, has some kind of cheesy fun to it. He plays the guy who is like the overlord of these secret ops. He's the shadowiest of all the shadowy people, and he's referred to as mother.
Yes.
And they're all child one to mother. So the idea of like Mark Wahlberg calling him mother all day is kind of a fun idea.
And it does set up one very strange non sequitur line at the end of the film that we will not ruin.
I groaned, I'll say that.
There's, I think, pieces of various interesting movies here, but they never really come together. Like the kind of the professional discussion that happens between Wahlberg and the security guy from whatever country they're in, like put that in a real movie and that would have been really interesting because there's this kind of almost kind of professional acknowledgement at times, not consistently, but at times. And I think some of the action staged really well. I was intrigued by Wahlberg's kind of number two, the woman who keeps dealing with the ex-husband and the kid.
Lauren Cohan.
Lauren Cohan. I thought that was interesting about like how that kept putting her in a different headspace, but
although it's that thing of like she's a woman, so she's got to be conflicted about not being a good enough mother.
She's
like
a bad mom.
We haven't seen that in a million movies.
She hasn't made the cupcakes for her kid's class party or whatever.
You
so
know, and then they actually carry that over into an action sequence where she has to protect a child. It's like, we get it, movie. Thank you.
They don't. Either they should have just done away with that whole element of it entirely or explored it more further because they sort of dip in and out of her being distracted on her cell phone by the divorce proceedings or whatever it is. And it's not really all that fleshed out beyond the idea of her not being able to have it all. Being the badass and making cupcakes.
Yeah, and you're right though, there are the little seeds of a much better movie here. Like the movie I think takes some risks that would be so admirable in a better film, but here they're just sort of like, well, okay.
Also, what's the movie trying to say about like Russian terror and hacking? Is it trying to say anything, or is it just trying to play on, headlines and contemporary fears? I'm not sure it has a point in that regard.
As I was posting Robert Abley's review on The Wrap, and I was looking up like previous Wrap articles about this movie, and they were talking about it going into production back in 2015.
Okay.
Before we were even talking about like Russian election hacking. So I don't know if it was always about that and they just lucked into being timely, or if it's something that got added later because to give it some juice. But you're right, it doesn't have anything to say about it except maybe it's bad.
It's dangerous.
Let's talk about the baby elephant in the room.
The baby that are screening?
Or the baby. Yeah, so we saw this screening at an AMC theater, which, I'd seen a movie earlier, and they say in their trailers and their promo stuff, and it's written all over the theater, no children under 6 after 6 p.m. in an R-rated movie, and yet there were a bunch of kids in this screening.
There was a baby crying.
Look, like it's a whole discussion about bringing kids to inappropriate movies. Christy,
no, you know what? No, I left my kid at home this time.
Right, but however, what I will say is AMC, seriously, don't put up your rules and then don't even bother.
Yeah.
And when I talked to the manager afterwards, the manager's, yeah, I did.
Good.
Because I'm an old man and I'm complaining, and the manager's like, well, it was the people that rented the theater, and that's not us. I was like, so you don't enforce your rules? And they're like, well, it was a private screening. And I said, okay, so I could bring in a full 5-course meal and eat that in the theater, and they were like, yeah. I'm like, so I could bring in a bottle of booze and drink that.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, the mind
I could
reels
smoke
where
in
this
there.
is going.
Right.
No, but yeah, AMC has a policy, but apparently if you rent the house, then it's the Wild West in there. Here's what it is. New parents, I'm sorry. Even if you get a free pass to a movie, you don't get to bring your baby to a movie at night when your baby is not sleeping and knows how to be quiet.
This one's not worth it.
This movie, no one should be seeing it anyway.
home.
But like, go to a Mommy and Me matinee, but do not bring your kid to a thing just because you got in for free. No, you know what? Take that ticket money and get a sitter, or stay at home and watch something on Netflix. But do not subject other people, other adults who are doing their jobs to your crying child, and then not take the crying child outside.
I felt that baby's pain though. So my number's a 2. What's your number?
2.5.
Okay.
I mean, for the fact that they cast Iko Uwais, even though they didn't use him well with the editing.
I give it a 4.5. I didn't hate it, but it could have been a lot better.
Okay, our number's a 3, and there's no tomato meter number on it just yet because it just screened
The
last
embargo
night.
lifted this morning.
All right, so don't see this. Bye.